the Colts rebounded very nicely in Germany. Colts rebounded from their disheartening bang-thing loss in Pittsburgh last week by going all the way to Germany with Sauce Gardner now wearing his Colts number 1 and taking on a Falcons team who had him dead to rights until, for whatever reason, they decided to call timeout to help the Colts settle in their field goal unit to attempt to tie the game and force overtime just to try and maybe save some time left for them in regulation to win it with their own field goal, even though that hasn't really happened much to their help throughout the season when they could have called that timeout after third quarter, after the third down to conserve time, but instead let the time wind down only to stop it for the Colts, who, of course, forced overtime and then won it because Jonathan Taylor is unstoppable.
Man.
This is an MVP candidate, folks, of note. I understand. I just talked about Drake May. This guy had a better day than Drake May. Drake did what he needed to do to win on the road as a second-year player. As young as he is, you got to give it up to him, and he's going to be in the mix for MVP, and so is Matthew Stafford. But I don't want to hear running backs can't win it or shouldn't win it. This guy did exactly what the Colts needed after last week's tail kicking in Pittsburgh, is to basically say, tip the cap to the Steelers' defense. They did what they needed to do. They turned us over quite a bit. They turned our quarterback over quite a bit. What we're going to do is we're going to rebound, and we're going to hand it to Jonathan Taylor, and he's going to take us home. As a matter of fact, I was in Germany for the last overtime game of the International Series. I called it. I called that game in Munich between the Giants and the Panthers. That game went into overtime. Panthers won it, and they've kind of turned things around since then, even though they took a brutal loss at home to the Saints on Sunday to sink them back to 500 and put their wild card hopes in a little bit more jeopardy than it was going into the week. But the reason why I bring it up is because the Giants lost that game. It wound up being Daniel Jones's last game as a Giant. Daniel had a terrific fourth quarter to force overtime, and the first play of overtime, Daniel Jones handed it to his running back, Tyrone Tracy, and the ball hit the ground. Tracy was inconsolable. The Panthers took that field position and won it. So I just have to say this. When Jones handed it off to Jonathan Taylor in this overtime, I did not have a sense of foreboding. As a matter of fact, I don't think a single soul in Europe, the United States, or around the world had a single sense of, oh, deja vu all over again. Daniel Jones in Germany in overtime because he helped force it after being down. Oh, okay. Maybe you should let Daniel Jones win it. No. As a matter of fact, too, I'm sitting there watching the game with Coop, and Cooper says to me, Dad, why aren't they just kicking the field goal? And I thought, you know what? Why aren't they just kicking the field goal? Why are they handing it off to Jonathan Taylor? And I thought, and I said to Cooper, I'm like, because it's probably a better odds of winning this game by handing it to Jonathan Taylor than it is to bring out your kicker and attempt a layup of a field goal.
That's what the fans wanted, though.
I understand.
They wanted that kicker to come out.
I'm just saying that's how money this guy is. 32 carries, 244 rush yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 catches for 42 yards. We always do the math for you here. 286 scrimmage yards. That's a career best. And it is 19 yards better than the previous best game in the history of the Colts from scrimmage. A guy named Marshall Faulk did it with 267 yards in Week 13, 1998. He's got now the second most rush yards in a game in Indianapolis history. Do you know who he trails? Himself, who had 253 rushing yards in the final week of 2020. Sandwiched in between these two rushing performances is now Hall of Famer Marshall Faulk. Somebody now has 5 career games of 200 or more scrimmage yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. His name is Jonathan Taylor. That's behind only Derrick Henry, 2 behind him, 4 behind LaDainian Tomlinson. Taylor's 5 ties him with 2 guys named Jim Brown and Eric Dickerson. All right, so let's go now a little bit better. 200 or more scrimmage yards in a career game in which you ran it in 3 times, including the walk-off one, okay, in overtime. Jonathan Taylor now has 3 of those career games with 200 or more scrimmage yards and 3 or more rushing touchdowns. Tied with Derrick Henry, 1 behind LaDainian Tomlinson. And his 3 rushing touchdowns vaulted him over Edgerrin James for most career rushing touchdowns in Colts history. He now leads the NFL with 17 scrimmage yards, most through the first 10 games of a season in Colts history. It helps to have Tyler Warren also lead the league in tight ends as a rookie, and the defense being opportunistic and also having sauce. So the Colts, nice rebound. Nice rebound, everybody. And it has, again, to do with Daniel Jones playing well. Has to do with the defense doing its thing. The Falcons, once again, did a little bit of help to their opponent, even though they had a terrific game. At some point, though, and I speak for all fantasy folks who have Bijan Robinson, he's going to make for a great featured back for the Falcons one day. I know that's an unfair assessment to the way that he's used.
Can he get the ball in the red zone? Why is that against the law?
I know that's a total fantasy thing. I understand it.
Did that not pass through customs or something?
But well done, Colts. Well done, Colts. Nice rebound. They're 8-2, and Denver, as we all know, started the week 8-2. They just need the Broncos. What they need to do is start playing faster and not put things in the hands of their defense to keep the game going until the offense comes around in the fourth quarter, when sometimes it doesn't, and they still pull out the win. Remarkably, that week 2 contest between the Colts and the Broncos, in which the Broncos thought they had won it until a leverage penalty got called against them. We're going to keep mentioning this because as long as the Broncos and the Colts keep winning, they're 8-2. That's the difference between the Broncos being in first place in the conference and not. And then you've got the Patriots raising their hands saying we're 8-2 as well. How about that? In the AFC through the first 10 weeks of this season. As we all know, the final game of week 10 is an NFC contest, and we'll talk about the NFC in a second. But much was made of last week's Bills-Chiefs game, and as I mentioned to everybody, it was a different types of Bills-Chiefs game because it's the first time that Allen faced Mahomes where neither were in first place, and the loser was at more of a crossroads than the winner, who needed to keep winning and use that as a springboard to have a chance to still be the 1 seed in this highly competitive conference that the Bills and the Chiefs no longer have, along with the Ravens. Apparently an annual right to being called the best team in the conference. Well, Ravens are under 500. Chiefs are at 5-4. And I know the Ravens are playing better. And the Bills just lost to the Dolphins. You got 3 8-2 teams sitting there thinking, we can win this damn thing. And not just this damn thing being the AFC, but the whole shooting match. It's a different world right now. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.